Welcome back, folks. Professor Almeida here, and in this video, I want to walk you through the project I assigned for Excel Module 3 in COSA 50. Coming up, you're going to learn how to work with large worksheets, charting, and we'll also get into what-if analysis. As before, if you need a break, you always have the pause button. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look here. And as you can see, I have the full ebook open. I've shown you this book with every walkthrough video. Refer to the ebook, go through your SAM training so you have an idea of what I will be covering in this project walkthrough. Here are the objectives for Module 3 with Excel, and by the end of this chapter, you should be able to master these concepts. All right, here we go. Excel 3 project. We'll go ahead and click start. And for this one, you just need your instructions and your start file. So I'll go ahead and make a copy of my start file. You've seen me do this before. You can also open the start file and go to File, Save As, if that works for you. All right, and with that, I'll see you on the other side, and we will begin Excel 3 project. All right, folks, let's get started here. Project steps. Step 1. Alexi Fisher is the Director of Recruiting and Business Development for Freedom Financial in San Diego, California. She has been analyzing sales and dividends for finance professionals in an Excel workbook and has asked you to help her complete the analysis. Go to the sales worksheet. So as before, move away from the documentation tab, and here we are in the sales worksheet. Don't forget to enable editing. Rename the sales worksheet as sales and dividends, which is a more accurate name. Two ways to do this. You can right click on the sales tab and choose rename. You can also double click into the sales tab and rename as well. So it's going to be sales and dividends. Double check your typing. One thing I want to caution you when it comes to naming sheet tabs, if you make a typo when you're renaming the sheet tab, don't be surprised if you lose a lot of points, because the grading engine is going to expect that sales and dividends worksheet to be there. And if you mistype, the grading engine's not going to see it, and you might end up losing a lot of points. So be very careful when you are renaming things in Excel, and especially later on when we get to Microsoft Access. Step 2, unfreeze column A so it is not displayed when you scroll horizontally. So here's what they mean by this. If you need to see a certain part of a worksheet, especially if it's a large worksheet and you're scrolling through, but you need to see a certain part, in this case, column A, you can freeze panes so that certain columns and rows will stay put while you scroll the rest of the worksheet. Now, in this case, they're asking us to unfreeze column A. So we'll go into the View tab, and in the window group, go to Freeze Panes, and you'll see Unfreeze Panes. And now this allows you to scroll the entire worksheet. Step 3, middle align and center align the contents of the merged cell A1 to improve the appearance of the worksheet title. So here's cell A1. Keep in mind, this is from A1 to I1. They're asking us to not only middle align, but also center align the contents. And you can see here in the Home tab alignment group, right now it is aligned to the left, and it's also bottom aligned. So we need to change this. First, we will click on middle align, and then right underneath that, center. And that's center align, basically. Step 4, in cell I3, insert a formula that uses the now function to display today's date. So let's go to I3 here, and this is last updated. Now, there are two more functions we need to talk about. There's the now function, which returns the date and time, and then you have the today function, which simply returns the current date. Now, you can use the now function and format the cell so that only the date appears. So I hope this clears up any kind of confusion. Let me show you here. To input the now function, remember it's a formula, we need the equal sign. And as I start typing now, you can see here in the tooltip, returns the current date and time formatted as a date and time. Versus today, where it just returns the current date formatted as a date. But in the instructions here, they're asking us to use the now function to display the date. Okay, and remember, you have to follow the function syntax. There's no argument for the now function or even the today function for that matter. So you have to input it exactly like this. Equal sign now, and then open and close parentheses. Remember, this function, the now function, returns the current date and time, but you can go back and reformat the cell so that only the current date is displayed. Let's check the final figure real quick for step 4 here. Okay, and if we zoom in and they have it, yeah. So we'll see what happens here, okay? Again, as you've been seeing in past walkthroughs, sometimes there are issues with these projects, and that's why I'm doing this walkthrough with you. So we'll see what happens. Step 5, fill the range C6 to G10 with the formatting from the range B6 to B10 to use a consistent number format for the sales data. So be careful with the wording here, because what they're basically asking us to do is to copy the formatting from B6 to B10. Okay, so first of all, let's make sure we select B6 to B10 here. Now, to copy formatting, you probably guessed it, you're going to use the Format Painter. So now you're going to see how it works in Excel. Again, Home tab Clipboard Group. We're going to click on the Format Painter, and you can see the white cross with the paintbrush there. And the range we're going to apply the formatting to is C6 to G10. And you can see the rotating border with the active range telling you that an action is about to be performed. So we need to select from C6 to G10, and that's going to copy the formatting as you now see. If you make a mistake, remember you always have undo. All right, so how are we doing, folks? If you need a break, remember you always have the pause button. All right, moving right along. Alexi wants to show the sales trend for each position and month from January to June. Provide this information as follows. This is step 6, by the way. In part A, in cell H6, insert a line spark line based on the data in the range B6 to G6. So let's go to cell H6 here. Okay, so this is cell H6. Of course, you can use the name box to confirm. This is cell H6, and we're being asked to insert a line spark line. Now, to do that, we go to the Insert tab, Spark Lines group, click on Line, and now it's going to ask us what the data range is. And you can see the location range. We have H6. Notice that it's an absolute reference. Now, for the data range, you could type it in, or you can use the point and click method. It's going to be B6 to G6. So again, you can use the point and click method here. Just like that. B6 to G6, and the spark line will appear in H6. Notice the spark line tab in the ribbon. Part B, use the fill handle to fill the range H7 to H10 without formatting based on the contents of cell H6. We can't just grab the fill handle and do this, right? Look what happens when you do that. These are banded rows, and now you have this issue with the worksheet. So that's not going to work. What we need to do instead, when you grab the fill handle and you copy the spark line to H10, you're going to see autofill options here. Click on this button, autofill options, and choose fill without formatting. Now look what happens. You still get the banded rows. That's what you want. Part C, change the color of the spark lines in the range H6 to H10 to olive green text 2, fourth column, first row of the theme colors palette to emphasize them. So first, we need to select the range H6 to H10. And in the spark line tab, we're going to go to spark line color, and it's olive green text 2. So look for olive green text 2. There you go. Part D, show a high point and a low point in the spark lines to make those values easy to identify. Go to the show group, still in the spark line tab here. Check high point and low point. And don't forget to save. Step 7. Copy the formula in cell I6 and paste it in the range I7 to I10, pasting only the formula and number formatting to include sales totals. So here's the formula in I6. We're being asked to copy the formula and paste it in the range I7 to I10, again, pasting only the formula and number formatting. So here's how it works. We can copy using Control-C or by going to the Home tab clipboard group and clicking copy. Now I'm going to select I7 to I10. And again, we're being asked to paste only the formula and number formatting to include sales totals. Two ways to do this. You can go to the Home tab clipboard group and choose the paste drop-down menu, or you can right-click into the range I7, I10, and you're going to choose Paste Special. And one of the options is to paste formulas and number formatting. Use the tooltips to help you here. As you can see, formulas and number formatting. That's what you want. Moving right along, step 8. Alexi wants to determine how the sales of each month contributed to the total sales. Calculate this information for her as follows. In part A, in cell B13, insert a formula without a function that divides the total sales for January, represented by cell B10, by the total sales to date, represented by cell I10. So let's go to cell B13 here. Okay, so you can see this is the percentage per month share for January. Again, you can see here, determining how the sales of each month contributed to the total sales. And it's going to be B10 divided by I10. So we start with an equal sign. B10 divided by I10. But hold on a second here, because in part B, they tell us to use an absolute reference to cell I10 in the formula. Now, because I already typed I10, I can just hit the F4 key on my keyboard and it will automatically put the dollar signs in front of both the I and the 10. And now I can hit enter. Part C, use the fill handle to fill the range C13 to G13 with the formula in cell B13. Now, before I do that, let me go back and show you here. This is what would happen if we did not use I10 as an absolute reference. This is what would happen. You're dividing by 0. Why? Because there's no J10, there's no K10. There's no L10, M10, or N10. So that's why you get the error. So instead, again, we need to make I10 an absolute reference. Again, position your insertion point right after I10, hit the F4 key. And now I can just grab the fill handle and I can just overwrite the contents there. And now we have the correct values. So I just wanted to show you that. And that takes care of step 8. All right, how are we doing, folks? Remember, if you need a break, you have the pause button. Continuing along, step 9. Alexi would like to increase the average number of product sales per month, and specifically how many representative financial products she needs to reach the goal of 20 products per month. Use Goal Seek to set the average number of product sales for all positions, that's represented by I-21, to the value of 20 by changing the average number of representative products, cell I-17. So let's back up for a second here and let's consider this scenario again. Alexi would like to increase the average number of product sales per month, and specifically how many representative financial products she needs to reach the goal of 20 products per month. So if we look down here, okay, so you can see average products. We're trying to find out how many average representatives would it take to give us 20 products per month. This is where Goal Seek comes in. So we can set a goal, in this case, 20 average products per month, and trying to figure out how many representatives on average will it take to get us to that goal. Let me show you how this works. We're setting the average number of product sales for all positions in cell I-21 to the value of 20, and it's going to be by changing the average number of representative products represented in cell I-17. I'm going to select I-21 here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the data tab. We'll ignore this message here. Forecast group, what if analysis, Goal Seek. So we're going to set cell I-21 to the value of 20 by changing cell I-17. Okay, so you see how this works. I-21 is going to be set to 20, and Excel is going to figure out how many average representatives it's going to take to meet this goal of 20 in I-21. Go ahead and click OK to run the analysis, and it has come up with 25 representatives. Now, let's quickly check the final figure here to confirm. If you go to the final figure, and we'll zoom in, you'll see, sure enough, you need 25 average representatives to make that total of 20. So we're going to go ahead and click OK to accept the results here. And that's how Goal Seek works. Moving right along to step 10. Format the text in cell J16 to clarify what it refers to as follows. Part A, merge and center the range J16 to J21. J16 to J21, we have that range selected, and they're asking us to merge and center. So we've seen this before, right? Home tab, alignment group, merge and center. You can also choose merge and center from the drop down. And then in part B, rotate the text down to -90 degrees in the merged cell so that the text reads from top to bottom. Now, to do that, in the Home tab alignment group, we're going to choose orientation, format cell alignment, and this is where you set the value to -90 degrees, as you can see here in the orientation category. Go ahead, click OK. And then in part C, change the width of column J to 7.00. We will right click on column J, column width, set this value to 7.00 and click OK. All right, folks, how are we doing? In the next step, we're going to basically look at an if then else statement and how it works in Excel using what's called the if function. So if you need a break, now would be a good time, and I'll see you on the other side. All right, folks, here we go. Step 11, Alexi also needs to calculate the dividends earned each month. If the company earns $200,000 or more in a month, the dividend is 30% of the sales. If the company earns less than $200,000 in a month, the dividend is 25% of the sales. Calculate the dividends as follows. So let's take a look here. Basically, the question we're asking is whether the company earned $200,000 or more in the month. And we'll start with January, which is represented by cell B10, right? That's the sales for January. And if the answer is yes, then the dividend is going to be 30% of the sales. Or if you translate this to math, it's 0.30 times whatever the sales is. Or in this case, it's cell B10 for the month of January. If not, then the dividend is 25% of the sales. And if you convert this to math, it's basically 0.25 times sales, in this case, B10. We use what's called the if function. And the if function looks like this, right? It's equal sign if, and you have three arguments. The logical test, which is basically the condition. In this case, is the month of January, represented by cell B10, greater than or equal to $200,000, or just 200,000? That's the condition. And if the condition is true, then you're going to do whatever's in the value if true. Now, value if true can be text, it can be a number, it can be a formula, or it can even be a function. Okay, so in this case, the value if true is going to be 30% of the sales, or B10 times 0.30. Now, if the condition is not met, then we look at value if false. And value if false is 25% of the sales. Now, in programming, this is called if, then, and else. But in Excel, this is how it works with the if function. You have the logical test, which is your condition. Again, for the month of January, B10, that represents the total sales in January. Is it greater than or equal to $200,000? If so, then carry out value if true, in this case 30% of B10, else, or value if false, 0.25 times B10. So this is what the function is going to look like when we type it out in cell B25. Okay, and that's what we're being asked to do here in part A. In cell B25, enter a formula that uses the if function and tests whether the total sales for January, cell B10, is greater than or equal to $200,000. All right, so here's the monthly dividends, and we will go into cell B25 here for the month of January, and we'll start with the if function. Now, you could type it out, or you can click on the FX button for insert function, or go to formulas, insert function, and we can look for if, right? And the logical test for the month of January in cell B25 is B10 greater than or equal to, and this is how you type it out. You use the greater than symbol and then followed by equal to. Just to show you real quick, less than or equal to would look like this, right? This would be less than or equal to. And if it's just greater than, you would do that. And if it's less than, you would just do that, right? So it's greater than or equal to 200,000. And you can see that right here, it is true. Value if true, and you can see this right here in part B. If the condition is true, multiply the total sales for January, cell B10, by 0.30 to calculate a dividend of 30%. So it would be B10 times 0.30. Now, value if false, and that's in part C, multiply the total sales for January, cell B10, by 0.25. Okay, so this is what you should have. And again, you want the logical test, you want the value if true and the value if false. And even though in this case with January is true, you want both just in case you copy the function. And that's what we're going to do in part D. So let's take a look. This is the result in B25. And again, because if we go back and look at B10, you can see right away here, the condition is met. The total sales for January is 340,000 and some change. So obviously the condition is true. And it looks like for all of the months, the condition is true. Let's go ahead, grab the fill handle and copy over to June. As you can see here, we're copying from C25 to G25. And let's take a moment to check the final figure. So let's look at the final figure real quick here. These are the values you should have. So the dividend for January is about 102 and some change. And then for June, 96,418. Let's compare. Yep, we are good to go. So I hope the if function makes sense. And as you can see for cell B25, this is what the if function looks like, exactly as you see how I typed it. Moving right along, step 12, change the spark lines in the range H25 to H26 as follows to use a more meaningful format. Part A, change the column spark lines to line spark lines. And let's make sure I'm alt-tabbing to the right place here. So again, H25 and H26. Let's go to the spark line tab. And we're being asked to change the column spark lines to line spark lines. In the Sparkline tab, type group, we're just going to switch this to line. And in part B, apply the Sparkline style dark blue, Sparkline style dark number 6. And they do tell you 6 column 5th row of the Sparkline styles palette to make the sparklines easier to see. So again, dark blue, Sparkline style dark number 6, 6th column 5th row. Sparkline tab style group, click on Sparkline style, and it's going to be dark blue, Sparkline style dark number 6. Let's check one more time. There you go. And there it is. Dark blue, Sparkline style dark number 6. Last step, step 13, delete row 35, which contains information Alexi does not need anymore. So let's go down to row 35. And I'm going to right click over row 35. So you should have that right facing arrow over row 35, right click, delete, and be sure to save. Your workbook should look like the final figures on the following pages. Save your changes, close the workbook, and then exit Excel. Follow the directions on the website to submit your completed project. Again, take a moment, double check, make sure that your worksheet tab is named correctly. Otherwise, you're not going to get any points. So take a moment, double check your work, save, and close completely out of Excel. And now the moment of truth. Let's go ahead and upload this. Temp number 1, open file. And as before, your Graded summary report will show up as a worksheet tab. And there you go, 100 out of 100. So that is it for the Excel projects for the first 3 chapters. Now, you're going to have a capstone later on in COSA 50. Make sure that you have mastered the concepts I have shown you in these walkthrough videos over the last 3 chapters, because there is going to be no walkthrough video for the capstone project. You're going to have to show me what you know. So again, you have the ebook, you have your SAM training. Hopefully you're taking notes along the way. You also have your project instructions, and remember to save your work. That includes your graded summary reports. If you're saving to OneDrive, make sure you're keeping all of that in your OneDrive account. And with that, I wish you all the best on this project along with your Excel capstone. Good luck. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.